Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers excessive force, Miranda rights, and dementia, and is brought to us by a private submission. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, PDS Debt. We're all looking for a fresh start this time of year. From eating better to losing weight, we all have some bad habits to stop and some good ones to start. But with today's sponsor, PDS Debt, you can give your finances a huge fresh start. PDS Debt is an all-in-one debt solution platform that offers customized options for anyone struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills. No matter what your financial status may be, PDS Debt strives to understand your specific scenario and can help provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. Debt is a difficult thing to manage, especially at this time of year. And I can think of more than a few times that I could have used a debt analysis during the tax season. If you're making payments every month but feel like you're never getting ahead, then PDS Debt can help. Make this the year you take control of your debt. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/audit. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/audit. Thanks again to PDS Debt for sponsoring today's episode. Around 2 p.m. on December 6, 2024, 61-year-old veteran George Henderson, who suffers from traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and advanced Alzheimer's disease, went missing from his Clarksville, Tennessee home. With temperatures predicted to drop below freezing that night, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued a silver alert to help his family locate him. Under Tennessee Code Section 38-6-121, a so-called silver alert can be issued for any missing person age 60 or older, or of any age with dementia who is believed to be in danger due to age, health, mental or physical conditions, environmental factors, or weather, and unable to return to safety without help. Well, shortly after 10:16 p.m., Officer Jacob Pritchett of the Guthrie Police Department was completing a traffic stop at an Exxon gas station in Guthrie, Kentucky, just over the state line, when he received a call regarding a disturbance involving Mr. Henderson at the gas station. The encounter that followed was captured on Officer Pritchett's body camera.
How's it going, brother?
How you doing?
Good. Got a call about you assaulting somebody? What happened with that?
I work with these guys.
Yeah. Was it him you pushed? Who did you push?
Who did I push? I pushed the miller from back.
You pushed what?
I don't know what you're looking for me. But what I do is I go out there and tell them Miller bills and all that. Now, you wanna believe something about me? You can call some people. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't trying to steal nothing.
Okay. You good? You got any guns or knives on you or anything?
Guns.
Just take your hand out of your pocket for me.
No, I don't have no guns.
Take your hands out of your pocket for
Let
me.
me get you the gun. I don't have no guns.
Okay, turn around for me.
All right.
Turn. Give me your hands. Where you live at? Walk up here. Yeah, walk up here to this counter with me. Lean up on that counter up here for me, okay? We're gonna figure out what's going on. Let me talk to this other guy.
Live in this area.
I got you. Go over and sit up next to that counter. I'm gonna talk to him real quick. What's going on?
Getting in my car.
He's getting in your car?
Well, went out there, shoved him out of the way, and knocked the car off.
What did he say?
Where did he do that for?
So he was attempting to take your vehicle? Yeah. Okay. Hey, so why were you inside his car?
I wasn't inside.
You weren't inside his car?
No. Yes I was.
You were inside of his car?
He gave me a climber. I ain't trying to do anything.
I understand.
You know, we can
Do you take any kind of medication or something?
Oh, hell
no. No, your pupils are very, very, very tiny, pinpointed. Can you look up in the air for me?
Yeah, I don't drink. I don't drug.
Go ahead and turn around and put your hands behind your back for me. You got cocaine in your nose.
Man, that's a lie. That's a lie. Oh, man.
Let go of my hand. You understand me? Put your hands behind your back. Don't you move. Todd, send me units. I'm fighting one. Give me your hands. All right. If I roll you gonna roll on your back, okay?
14 good Marmy business check. Martin Steel Buildings, that'll be 1018 from Allegheny.
Roll over. Come on. Roll, 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 roll. I'm gonna pull you up, okay?
1410 be advised. There's a security company called in. There's a panic button going off at the highway right now.
Uncross your leg, please. Hey, I gotta get you up, brother. Okay? You're in cuffs, just relax. Come on, you can't lay here in handcuffs, brother. Yeah, he bit the out of me.
After claiming to see cocaine inside Mr. Henderson's nose, Officer Pritchett attempts to place Mr. Henderson in handcuffs. While it is unclear exactly what happened from the body camera footage, Officer Pritchett can be seen holding Mr. Henderson's head against the floor with his left hand and punching him on the right side of his head, apparently causing him to lose consciousness for about 30 seconds as Officer Pritchett continues with the handcuffing. In the incident report that Officer Pritchett completed for this encounter, he stated that he was attempting to detain Mr. Henderson in order to remove a sample of the powder for on-site testing and to obtain his name. He then wrote that as he was attempting to detain Mr. Henderson, he quickly pulled away and began resisting and fighting, causing both parties to fall onto the ground. Officer Pritchett reported that he was then able to get free and maneuver himself onto Mr. Henderson's back when Mr. Henderson bit his right forearm. Officer Pritchett stated that he then pulled his arm away and struck Mr. Henderson, now quoting, with a closed hand strike in order to gain compliance to safely make the arrest. Now, as we've discussed before here on ATA, the Supreme Court identified 3 factors that must be considered when determining whether an officer's use of force is excessive in the 1989 case of Graham versus Connor, now quoting from that case. The severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the officers or others, and whether he is actively resisting arrest or attempting to evade arrest by flight. Now, while the offenses Mr. Henderson was suspected of were relatively minor, he did resist arrest and pose some level of a physical threat by biting Officer Pritchett's hand, although it could be argued that any quote-unquote threat that Mr. Henderson may have posed was diminished by his age and mental capacity. However, the Sixth Circuit, which includes Kentucky, has often found substantial but non-lethal uses of force to be justified against citizens who are resisting arrest, even in a relatively minor capacity. For instance, in the 2006 case of Goodrich versus Everett, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals found that officers did not use excessive force against an arrestee who was suspected of domestic assault and fled officers by vehicle, refusing to pull over and eventually stopping at a police station in a nearby town. After exiting the vehicle and walking toward the station to apparently surrender, officers body slammed him to the ground on concrete, pushed his face into a flower bed of mulch, and repeatedly kneed him in the side, even though the suspect was not resisting at the time, resulting in a broken and dislocated hip, a broken rib, and all the skin being torn off his knees. Despite recognizing that, now quoting, some force may be wildly disproportionate for the purpose of handcuffing a suspect and may constitute excessive force regardless of whether a suspect has already been subdued, the court concluded that the level of force was not unreasonable under the circumstances. Likewise, in the 2012 case of Kay versus West Bloomfield Township, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals found that officers did not use excessive force when they tackled a suicidal teenager who resisted and fled officers who were attempting to grab him in order to forcibly transport him to a hospital, and tased him when he refused to produce his hands for handcuffing after they tackled him. In concluding that the tasing was constitutional, the court argued that, now quoting, although plaintiff insists that he no longer posed a risk of harm or flight after being taken to the ground, there is no dispute that plaintiff continued to be uncooperative by actively resisting the officer's attempts to secure his hands behind his back. In light of this resistance, we find that the officer's single use of the taser in drive-stun mode was not gratuitous. Rather, it served the purpose of gaining control over a highly intoxicated, volatile, and uncooperative subject, and neutralizing what a reasonable officer could perceive as a dangerous situation. And finally, in the 2015 case of Rudliff versus Gillespie, the Sixth Circuit determined that officers did not use excessive force by employing a knee strike and a taser against an arrestee who refused to comply with handcuffing, concluding that, now quoting, "When an arrestee actively resists arrest, the police can constitutionally use a taser or a knee strike to subdue him," and that, now quoting again, "When a person resists arrest, the officers can use the amount of force necessary to ensure submission." Now, although there are factual differences between this situation and these Sixth Circuit cases, given the substantial deference that the Sixth Circuit has shown to officer uses of force against resisting suspects, it is certainly possible that a court applying these precedents would conclude that Officer Pritchett's use of force was not constitutionally excessive.
Todd, I'm 1015 Mel. Go and send me EMS. Did he take anything out of your car?
I don't know.
You don't know? Do you have your license on you? Do you have any kind of form of ID?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Do you want to stand up or are you okay sitting down? We can lean you up against this if you want. Or sit you back onto something, okay? I don't want to really pull you by your arms. That will hurt. I'll pull you up and we'll walk back over here and you can sit down against this, okay? Or how you want to do this? Is that comfy?
Yep.
Okay. Where do you live at? Hang on.
Illinois?
Where do you live at?
58, 28,
5828 what?
more, 38.
Just what city?
Huh?
What city do you live in?
48, 38.
Do you live in Clarksville? Do you live in Guthrie? What state do you live in? Do you know?
No.
You don't know what state you live in?
No.
Okay. Where did you come from? And why do you have white powder in your nose? You have powder in your nose.
How did I get in my nose?
You have powder in your nose. When I see powder in your nose. And your pupils are very constricted.
I don't know.
Okay. Did you maybe look? You're under arrest. Okay, I'm gonna Mirandize you real quick. Okay, just so you know your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in court of law. You have the right to have attorney present. If you can't afford one, be appointed to you by the courts. Okay. If you took something that you shouldn't have taken, and you've kind of gone into some kind of psychosis, I need to know so I can get you some help. Have you taken anything tonight?
No.
Okay. Because what you're saying and stuff isn't making sense. We're going to go to the hospital anyway, because your story and you're not really making much sense, and you got powder in your nose, okay?
Officer Pritchett starts to question Mr. Henderson about the alleged powder in his nose, but then realizes that he needs to so-called Mirandize him first, and explains his Miranda rights before proceeding with questioning. To Mirandize someone means to inform them of their Miranda rights, which include the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. These warnings were required by the Supreme Court in the 1966 case of Miranda versus Arizona, and served to protect the Fifth Amendment privilege against compelled self-incrimination during custodial interrogations. As such, officers are required to give Miranda warnings before conducting so-called custodial interrogations, which generally means that the individual is in police custody and the police are asking questions likely to elicit an incriminating response. Accordingly, because Mr. Henderson had been arrested, a court would almost certainly conclude that Officer Pritchett was required to read him his Miranda rights before asking any potentially incriminating questions about his suspected drug use.
Are you confused? Do you not know where you are? The stuff in your nose looks like cocaine, man. All right? If you took too much cocaine, that's all right. I done found it. You done caught it. You can't get in trouble for no more cocaine. I done got it on you. Okay? Do you have anything in your pockets you're not supposed to have? Do you have any cocaine in your pockets?
No.
Okay. Just hang tight. With the whole situation, I'll probably need a statement from you, stating what you saw,
Right.
him fighting with me, him biting me, and all that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay, cool. Let me radio something real quick. 502 Todd. Just note in my CAD, I observed a white substance in the male's nose and attempted to arrest him. The male became non-compliant, fighting with me. Mel and I both fell to the ground. I got on top of the Mel. Mel then proceeded to bite me on my arm, to which I then struck the Mel in his head, and he did fall unconscious momentarily.
Also be advised, EMS is in route.
10-4, thank you. Did you walk here? Did you drive here? Did you have a car? You walked here?
No.
How did you get here? Do you have a car?
I was unconscious.
I have a car, but I didn't use my driver.
Did you walk here?
No.
Then how did you get here? You get dropped off?
Yes.
Okay. I got you. Do you know who dropped you off?
Yes.
Who?
The lady on the dress.
Lady in the dress?
I think the third count.
Do you take any kind of medication?
No.
You don't take nothing?
No.
Okay. You understand you're not...
Some value.
You take Valium?
No, I drink my medicine that they send me.
And what medicines are? I'm trying to make sure you're not going to some kind of mental crisis. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get you some help. I know you got the powder in your nose, but do you take any medication for, your mental? Because you're not making a lot of sense, okay?
Okay.
You got on 2 separate shoes. You don't know how you got here, okay? You were in other people's cars. You see where I'm at, brother?
No.
Nothing about you makes sense.
Let me tell you something. I'm in the military.
You're in the military right now?
Yeah.
What's your rank?
I was in back.
Huh?
I ain't got nothing to want to do anything.
I gotcha. What's going on?
This is Carlos.
Hey, what's
How
up,
you
brother?
doing?
Good, man. As soon as I find out whatever the his name is, I'm going to trespass him so he can never come here again.
George Henderson.
George Henderson. Appreciate it. George, what's your middle name? Do you know?
I gave it to him.
Your middle name?
Alan.
Alan? What state's your driver's license in? Is it in Kentucky or Tennessee? What state do you live in?
See what now?
What state do you live in?
Corner.
Huh?
I'm loose jacking these. Got me pulling.
Do you know your birthday?
Yeah.
What's your birthday?
04-22-32.
502 type. Break for a name, date of birth. Unknown state. First name's going to be George, common spelling. Middle name Allen, common spelling. Last name Henderson, common spelling. Mel's not in a very cognitive state. He does not know what state he lives in or where he's from. If you can, just run it through all 50. Should come back to a elderly black male by the same name.
503-22-32.
What up? He was in his car, I guess trying to take it or steal of it. I get here, he comes inside, he's acting super weird. I asked if he's got any, if he has a gun, and he says gun, and he goes in his pocket like this. I'm like, alright, no. And then I get him over here, and I start talking to him, and I look at his eyes, and there's like pins. And I'm like, alright, look in the air. He looks up, and boogers, all in his nose. I'm like, alright. Try to put him in cuffs, he starts fighting with me. We fall down.
Hey, can you lean your head back for me? Can you lean your head back? Lean your head back. Put your head back.
Lean up, look up at me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all in there. So we start fighting. Oh yeah, I am. I'm getting with everything. So we start fighting, and I take him to the ground, and I got my arm on him.
Oh, man. It looked crystal.
Yeah, he don't know. He does not nothing. He does know nothing. He bites the f*** out of me, dude. He's biting me.
Where's the bite now?
Right here. Luckily, he bit me on this. So I get it away, and he tried to go for this one. I go, knock his ass out.
What's he bleeding from?
I guess the side of his head. I mean, I was going to tase him, but I was like, I don't want to tase him. I just wanted to get him off.
Got 2 different shoes on.
I know. I can't figure out what's going on with him. Obviously, he's been doing something. He snorted. I don't know if he's in some kind of drug psychosis. He don't know what state he's in. He couldn't tell me really how he got here. He said some lady in a dress dropped him off.
1497.
I mean,
Probably hallucinating.
yeah, he probably is. I don't know what he snorted.
Another officer arrives on the scene, and Officer Pritchett explains what happened, describing Mr. Henderson's actions in entering the vehicle, struggling with Officer Pritchett, and biting his arm. Section 514.030 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes states that, quote, a person is guilty of theft by unlawful taking or disposition when he or she unlawfully takes or exercises control over movable property of another with intent to deprive him or her thereof, or obtains immovable property of another or any interest therein with intent to benefit himself or herself or another not entitled thereto. Now, although the gas station attendant stated that nothing was missing from the vehicle, including his readily accessible cash, Section 506.010 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes allows an individual to be convicted of criminal attempt to commit a crime when, now quoting from the statute, acting with the kind of culpability otherwise required for commission of the crime, he or she intentionally does anything which is a substantial step in a course of conduct planned to culminate in his commission of the crime. However, the statute also states that, now quoting again, conduct shall not be held to constitute a substantial step unless it is an act or omission which leaves no reasonable doubt as to the defendant's intention to commit the crime which he or she is charged with attempting. Accordingly, while a citizen could be convicted of attempted theft for entering a vehicle in an unsuccessful effort to steal something, Mr. Henderson likely did not have the underlying intent necessary for this offense given his diminished mental capacity. Likewise, Section 520.090 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes states that, quote, a person is guilty of resisting arrest when he intentionally prevents or attempts to prevent a peace officer from effecting an arrest by using physical force or violence against the peace officer. And Section 508.025 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes states that, quote, a person is guilty of assault in the third degree when the actor intentionally causes or attempts to cause physical injury to a peace officer. Well, as with the attempted theft charge, in order for Mr. Henderson to be found guilty of assault and resisting arrest, the prosecution would need to prove that he acted intentionally, and Mr. Henderson would have a strong argument that he did not act intentionally due to the cognitive impairment, confusion, and lack of awareness created by his dementia. It should also be noted that Mr. Henderson could additionally attempt to invoke the so-called insanity defense, as set out in Section 504.020 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, which states that, quote, a person is not responsible for criminal conduct if, at the time of such conduct, as a result of mental illness or intellectual disability, he lacks substantial capacity either to appreciate the criminality of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law, and that Mr. Henderson could potentially even be found not competent to stand trial given his significantly diminished mental state.
I'm letting him sit here till EMS checks him out, just because he's got the injury on the side of his head.
She was wheeling. Did you get bit?
Yeah, I got bit.
Where?
On the side. He didn't bite me too bad. Luckily, I got him, made him stop before he could bite me anymore.
You got any teeth left? Watch out. There's a bunch of meth up his nose.
Yeah, he's high on meth. I'm not sure what else. He doesn't really know where he's from, where he's at, nothing.
When I get shot, you gotta be in the hospital.
Thank you. Aaron talked to Aaron.
She was rolling, boy. I think I made pretty good time.
That's all I could get out of him, if you guys need that.
Go ahead and do that.
It's George Allen Henderson.
Do you feel any pain anywhere, sir?
Doing anything?
Do you feel any pain?
No.
No? I'm gonna press on your head, okay? Any extra pain? Anything down your back?
Nope.
Okay. Look this way for? Yeah, right now. Can you see?
Officer Pritchett disables his body camera at this point in the encounter. However, according to his incident report narrative, after dispatch was able to run Mr. Henderson's name, they advised Officer Pritchett that a silver alert had been issued for Mr. Henderson. Well, after learning of the silver alert, Officer Pritchett proceeded to transport Mr. Henderson to the Todd County Detention Center, which Officer Pritchett wrote in his report was for housing. However, Officer Pritchett also issued a citation charging Mr. Henderson with attempted theft, resisting arrest, assault on a police officer, public intoxication by a controlled substance, and possession of a controlled substance, presumably for the powder that he claimed to see inside Mr. Henderson's nose. Staff at the Todd County Detention Center completed a urine drug screen on Mr. Henderson at 2:30 p.m. on December 7th, and the results were negative. Mr. Henderson was eventually released, and as of the date of writing this episode, the charges against him are still pending. Overall, Officer Pritchett gets an F for demonstrating a complete lack of knowledge regarding the signs of dementia, subjecting an elderly veteran to brutal and unnecessary force that knocked him unconscious, and charging him with multiple criminal offenses, including felonies, after he learned that Mr. Henderson was not high, but rather suffering from dementia. Upon arriving at the scene and observing Mr. Henderson's behavior, Officer Pritchett immediately assumed that his cognitive impairment was due to drug use, ignoring the far more plausible explanation given Mr. Henderson's age that dementia might be the cause. Additionally, and potentially to attempt to justify his earlier misjudgments, Officer Pritchett then proceeded to pursue criminal charges against Mr. Henderson, including the drug-related offenses, even after he learned about the silver alert, choosing to transport Mr. Henderson to jail and book him on criminal charges instead of taking him safely home to his wife. Finally, while a court might find that Officer Pritchett's use of force was not constitutionally excessive, even if Mr. Henderson had been experiencing drug-induced psychosis rather than dementia, Officer Pritchett's decision to deliver a punch to the head with enough force to render an elderly man unconscious was, in my opinion, unnecessary, reckless, and barbaric. Perhaps even more disturbing than the force employed was the fact that as Mr. Henderson lay on the floor unconscious, Officer Pritchett seemed more concerned with his own injury, a bite that did not even appear to break the skin, rather than the well-being of the elderly man that he just knocked out. Now, while this encounter reveals many problematic aspects of Officer Pritchett's character, it should also be noted that it demonstrates the failure of the justice system to provide adequate protections and recourse to citizens who are subjected to violence at the hands of police officers. And as for Mr. Henderson, I cannot rightfully assign a grade to an elderly citizen with advanced dementia who was the victim of physical abuse at the hands of a police officer who should have protected and helped him. I am truly devastated that Mr. Henderson and his wife had to go through this horrific ordeal, and I wish them nothing but the best of luck as they navigate the criminal charges that were inexcusably filed against Mr. Henderson. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to pick up your copy of the Civilian Rights Hand Guide in the links down below.